In Lusaka, they called her Mama Niara, not because of wealth, but because of wisdom. She was a widow who raised 3 children alone and still built a thriving rice and maize business that supplied markets across southern province. Her home buzzed with life: marble floors, 2 live-in maids, and a chef who made goat stew so tender even ministers visited just to eat. Her children, Luyando, Mond, and Kego, were her pride. She gave them everything she never had: foreign education, cars before graduation, holidays in Cape Town. But then the fire came. A faulty warehouse generator sparked at dawn. By the time the smoke cleared, everything was gone. Insurance? It had lapsed. Her accountant? Gone. Her savings? Stuck in a failed land deal she made to secure their future. Mama Niara was too proud to beg. She moved back into the main house with her children, believing, foolishly, that love would be enough. "We'll sort it out, Ma," Monda had said, glancing at her like a burden. Days became weeks. She offered to cook. They ignored her. She cleaned the house herself. They posted her mop on TikTok, laughing at her village ways. Then came Luyando's voice behind the closed door. "She's a liability now." I didn't sign up to parent my mother. Mama Niara stood quietly on the stairs, eyes fixed on the family portrait above the landing. They had been smiling in that picture, but she could now see it, the way her own arms cradled children who never learned to hold her back. In that moment, something inside her shifted. A seed of silence, watered by betrayal, rooted itself deep. She would no longer ask for space in a house she built. Mama Niara woke early that morning, as she always did. Even in silence and shame, discipline held her upright. She tied her wrapper, swept the front porch, and boiled water for tea, though no one would drink it but her. By 8 a.m., the house was awake. Kego stomped through the kitchen in loud sneakers. "Why is there no almond milk?" he yelled, slamming the fridge. Monda rolled her eyes and tapped away on her phone. Luyando was in the living room, shirtless, pacing during a call. "We can't keep funding dead weight," he snapped into his Bluetooth earpiece. Mama Niara said nothing. She sat outside, sipping her tea from a chipped mug. By noon, it happened. She returned from the corner shop with a bag of mealie meal, bought with her last crumpled kwacha, only to find her suitcase by the gate. Her small blue suitcase, the one with a broken wheel. Beside it was a clear plastic bag holding her clothes. Her favorite slippers dangled sadly from the top. She stared at it. No one came out to explain. She didn't knock. She didn't cry. She placed the bag of mealie meal beside the suitcase, adjusted her wrapper, and lifted her head high. For a moment, the sun caught the gray in her hair, turning it silver. The taxi drivers under the jacaranda tree stared as she dragged her suitcase down the road. "Mama Niara," one called softly. She waved. She walked. At the intersection, she paused, then turned away from the tar road, taking a dusty path toward the outskirts of Lusaka. No money, no phone, no home, only the memory of her late husband's village, and a whisper in her spirit. "Let the soil remember you when your own blood forgets." It had been nearly 25 years since Mama Niara last stepped into Mamboy village. The red earth greeted her like an old friend, cracked, dry, but honest. Children ran barefoot, chasing each other with sticks. Chickens darted across the narrow paths. No marble tiles, no imported curtains, just truth in every corner. She arrived with blisters on her palms from dragging the suitcase, and a throat parched from silence. But her heart, it was still beating. That had to count for something. Old Mahulu Nasilele, her late husband's cousin, nearly dropped her hoe when she saw her. "Niara?" she gasped, wiping sweat from her brow. Is it really you?" Mama Niara smiled gently, though her lips were cracked. It's me, if your door is still open." Makulu dropped everything and pulled her into a firm embrace. "You are family. You are home." By sunset, a small mat had been laid for her in the corner of the hut. Hot Nshima steamed in a clay pot, and 2 fresh eggs sat beside her plate. "I don't deserve all this," Niara whispered, eyes misting. "You gave much before," Makulu said, slicing pumpkin leaves. "It was only a matter of time before the seeds came back as fruit." The next morning, Mama Niara woke to birdsong and the smell of burning firewood. Her back ached, but something else stirred inside: purpose. She helped Makulu plant okra and weed the small cassava patch. Her hands bled, but her soul began to heal. That night, under a sky bursting with stars, she whispered, "They threw me away." Makulu answered without turning, "No, they returned you to the earth. Now grow again." Mama Niara lay down with a small smile, unaware her story was just beginning, again. Weeks turned into months, and Mama Niara became one with the land. Every morning, she tied a faded scarf around her head, dug her hands into the soil, and planted. She started with tomatoes, seeds given by a neighbor. Then came green beans, spinach, and chili. She cleared a dry corner behind Makulu's hut and called it "My Garden of Second Chances." Villagers noticed her. They had heard stories, how she once lived in a big house in Lusaka, how her name once appeared in magazines. But no one mocked her, not here, not in Mamboy, except maybe one person, Kalima, a local shop owner with a bitter tongue. "Look at her," he sneered one afternoon. "Rich woman turned garden girl. Life has no shame." Mama Niara smiled at him. "The shame is in forgetting who we were before the world called us important." Her answer spread faster than gossip. Then something strange happened. Her tomatoes grew faster than expected, juicier, redder. Her chili pods gleamed under the sun. Even the chief's wife began to ask, "What fertilizer do you use?" "Patience," Mama Niara said, laughing softly. By season's end, she was harvesting more than she could eat. Makulu suggested she dry the spinach and sell it in packets. The school cook bought her eggs. Word spread. People came. They didn't come for pity. They came to buy, and buy they did. A small stall was built beside the main road. Hand-painted, Niara's fresh blessings. One day, as she sorted cassava into neat piles, a car pulled up. Black SUV, tinted windows. She froze. The door opened, and there stood Luyando, older, thinner, no chains on his neck, no arrogance in his eyes. "Mama," he said, barely above a whisper, "I need your help." The villagers watched from a distance as Luyando stood beside the stall, dust settling around his polished shoes. He looked out of place, too clean, too quiet. But Mama Niara said nothing. She continued stacking yams into a basket, her fingers steady, despite the storm swirling inside her. "I came by myself," he finally said. "Monday's in South Africa. Kego. We don't know where he is anymore." Still, she said nothing. The house was repossessed. The car, too. I sleep in a friend's spare room now." Niara placed a final yam in the basket and wiped her hands on her wrapper. "I once told myself love would be enough," she said, her voice low, steady. "But love without respect becomes a curse." Luyando's eyes filled with tears. "I was foolish. We all were. But I remember things now. The smell of your stew. How you stayed up when I was sick. How you taught me to count using beans on the kitchen table. I didn't forget everything, Mama, just the parts that mattered." She looked at him then, really looked. He had lost weight. His shoulders sagged. The boy who once mocked her had been replaced by a man who had tasted the bitterness of regret. "I don't want your money," he said quickly. "I just want to learn. Teach me what you do. I want to plant something that matters." Mama Niara paused. Then without a word, she handed him a hoe. "Dig," she said. He blinked. "Now? Now. The soil waits for no man's guilt." And so, under the sun, a fallen son dug his first row. And beside him, Mama Niara planted seeds, not just of food, but of forgiveness. Not everything was healed, but something was beginning. The rains came late that year, but they came. By then, Mama Niara's stall had doubled in size. A new sign hung above it, painted in Luyando's handwriting, "Niara's Hope Garden." The village children came to help after school, trading laughter for lessons in the soil. Even Kalima, once sharp-tongued, brought sacks of charcoal to barter for dried okra. Luyando worked with blistered hands and sunburned skin. He no longer flinched when cows passed too close. He learned how to compost, how to watch the sky, how to listen to silence. Mama Niara never spoke of the past, but one evening, as they sat on overturned buckets peeling groundnuts, she said quietly, "The seed doesn't ask who buried it. It just grows." He looked at her. "I hope I can grow into someone you'll be proud of." She smiled. "You already are. Not because you're perfect, but because you came back." Then came a letter, one written in shaky handwriting, addressed simply to Mama. It was from Kago. He was in Livingstone, broke, alone, hungry. He wanted to come home. Mama Niara folded the letter and tucked it under her wrapper. The prodigal always finds the road when he's ready. Monde came next, through a phone call, tearful, tired, stripped of pride. She spoke of failures, of shame, of wanting to begin again. "Tell her the soil is waiting," Mama Niara said. The family never returned to the mansion. It was gone, like the false riches that once blinded them. But under the wide Zambian sky, in a garden watered by humility and time, they found something greater. Roots, forgiveness, home. And when the first tomatoes of the season ripened, Mama Niara placed 3 in a basket and whispered, "This is the harvest of the forgotten." But she was no longer forgotten. She had bloomed. Mama Niara's journey teaches us that even when everything falls apart, there is always a chance to rise again. But what do you think? Have you ever faced a moment when you had to start over and grow from the ground up? If this story touched you, please give it a like and share your thoughts in the comments below. I'd love to hear your stories of resilience, forgiveness, or family. And don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss the next powerful story from our channel. Thank you for watching, and remember, you are stronger than you know.